How's it going, guys? This is Jack here with the Commander's Wire, and welcome back to another video. Obviously, we had the 2026 NFL Draft occurring over this past weekend, and today we're going to be going over all of the Commanders' new draft picks, rounds 1 through round 7. We're going to be doing a, not exactly a deep dive, but a general overview of all of the Commanders' draft picks, a total of 6 of them, and how they can shape up into being contributors day 1 for the 2026 NFL season and the Washington Commanders. But before we get into that, I really would appreciate if you guys would go down below, drop a like, subscribe, turn on post notifications to know when I post next, and you guys will be notified whenever I post more Commanders content just like this. So without further ado, let's get right into today's video. We're obviously going to start out with the Commanders' first round draft pick at pick 7. The Commanders drafted Sonny Styles, the athletic freak of a linebacker out of Ohio State. And there's not really too much you need to say about Sonny Styles. I guess I'll just go over his stats. He had 83 total tackles, with 46 of those being solo over his past year at Ohio State. 3 passes deflected, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble, and 1 interception. But I think Sonny Styles, his impact on the Washington Commanders will be much more than just his stats. He's a leader in the middle of the field, right? He's someone that could be this team's new London Fletcher, right? He is someone that can replace Bobby Wagner day 1 and be a solid starter in the middle of this defense alongside Leo Chenal, Frankie Louvu, as well as the other linebackers. And I think he will be able to first of all, be the captain of this defense, as well as wearing the green dot day 1 and just completely making this entire defense as well-rounded as possible, right? I'm stumbling over my words over this guy. He's such a good draft pick. Obviously, taking a linebacker at pick 7 is a little rich, but I think Sonny Styles brings a lot more than just what his position says, right? There's obviously Arvell Reese, is another linebacker, who the Giants said they're going to use him in a similar way, being an inside will type of linebacker as well, but I don't think Arvell Reese has that character and that leadership abilities that Sonny Styles has, right? Sonny Styles, I think, has that commander tag. He is the guy that is worthy to hold that C on his chest and be the defensive captain for this team. And I think this is an amazing draft pick that the Commanders were able to get here in the first round. I think, obviously, he was one of the first players the Commanders wanted to draft in the first round, but I think over the past month or so, they knew that Sonny Styles is probably not going to make to them at pick 7, but fortunately for the Washington Commanders, he did, and I think this is a great draft pick for them to start out the 2026 draft with. Unfortunately, we did not have a second-round draft pick, but we did have a third-round draft pick at pick 71, and the Commanders took Antonio Williams, wide receiver out of Clemson. And I also think this is an amazing draft pick. Both of these guys, Antonio Williams and Sonny Styles, are both 21 years old, still super young, but Antonio Williams is definitely someone that fell down draft boards over the course of this past season. Obviously, Clemson, going into the 2025 college football season, had a lot of expectations, but I don't know what happened. A lot of their players just did not work out. They did not pan out, and they just had a really bad season overall. And because of that, a lot of their players that were coming into this draft, who were supposed to be first-round draft picks, you look at guys like Cade Klubnik, Avion Terrell, Peter Woods, TJ Parker, these guys were supposed to be first-round locks. On top of that, Antonio Williams, he was supposed to be the second wide receiver taken off the board just behind Jordan Tyson going into the 2025 season. But because of the way the Clemson seasons went, Antonio Williams definitely fell down draft boards. So because of that, Commanders were able to get an absolute steal in the 3rd round. And then a lot of the wide receivers that we thought were going to be taken before that still were on the board. So a lot of Commanders fans were skeptical on this pick at first, but I think looking into it a little more, Antonio Williams is definitely the right choice. I think David Blau got his Amon-Ra of this Ben Johnson-style defense, and I'm super happy they were able to get this guy in the 3rd round. But at Clemson this past season, he had 55 total catches, 604 yards, 11 yards per catch, and 4 total touchdowns. So obviously not the greatest stat line in the world. However, we all know how that Clemson season went. And on top of that, this guy runs almost all of his routes out of the slot. He is an underneath type of guy, like that Amon-Ra type of player I was talking about before. And because of that, I think he did not have a lot of room to grow, right? Only really averaging 11 yards per reception and a long of 64 yards. So I think that Antonio Williams is going to be a day one contributor, being this team's wide receiver 2 immediately, and maybe Brandon Ayuk shows up here in a little bit after getting released by the 49ers, and maybe he'll get pushed down to wide receiver 3. But besides that, I think he will be a day one starter, and I'm super excited to have Antonio Williams on this offense to be that Amon-Ra type of role and being a contributor from day one. He even said it himself. He likes to be a quarterback's best friend, right? And I think that Jayden Daniels and Antonio Williams definitely be a solid connection there in this 2026 Commanders offense. Now, next up, this is one of my favorite draft picks. The Commanders at round 5, pick 147. They were able to land Joshua Josephs, edge rusher out of Tennessee. Now, I don't know how he fell down this far for the Tennessee Volunteers this year. He had 17 solo tackles, so he had 33 total. He only had 4 sacks, which is not the greatest. He did have 2 passes deflected, as well as 3 forced fumbles. So he did have an okay stat line this year in college, but he is a pass rushing specialist at 6'3", 240. He's a little undersized, but I think when it comes to pass rushing and getting after the quarterback, there are not a lot of guys that can do it as well as Joshua Josephs. And because of that, I do think that he did fall down some draft board just because he has some one-dimensional play. But he is someone that was getting talked about going day 2, and I even thought about that. In one of my very first mock drafts, he was my pick there in the 3rd round, and I thought that Joshua Josephs was someone that would be a day 2 lock, 2nd or 3rd round, and not really thinking too much of it. But he fell to us in the 5th round, and I think that he is someone that can contribute day 1 as a rotational pass rusher, and will be the only other pass rusher besides Odafe Oweh, who's under contract for next season after 2026. So I think this is a very solid draft pick, a steal in the 5th round, personally. I think there are also some character concerns. Not exactly him, going out and breaking the law necessarily, but he is definitely a very outgoing individual. He's definitely very well spoken, but he definitely has a little bit of an ego. But that is all right. You can have a couple guys that have some big egos in the locker room. Not everyone can be a quiet leader type of player that Jayden Daniels and Sonny Styles has. You need to have some guys that are a little loud in the locker room. So I do think Joshua Josephs was an absolute steal in the 5th round, and I'm super happy they were able to get him. Even though there are a couple other players that I kind of wanted them to get, I was super excited that they were able to get a guy like Joshua Josephs to really fasten up this defensive line and this pass rush for the 2026 season. And I know Durante Jones is super excited to get a guy like this, and who is still pretty young as well. And in the 6th round, this is arguably an even bigger steal for the Washington Commanders. At round 6, pick 187, the Washington Commanders were able to draft Kaytron Allen, running back out of Penn State, 5'11", 217. This is a guy that is an absolute steal. There's no more I can say about that. In 2025, 210 attempts, 1,303 yards, 6.2 yards per attempt, 15 touchdowns, and in the receiving game, only 18 receptions for 68 yards. But because of that, he is someone that is going to immediately replace the Chris Rodriguez thumper role in the backfield. I think Kaytron Allen is definitely another really Adam Peters, Dan Quinn type of guy, good head on his shoulders, very outgoing, very outspoken, and it's definitely someone I think will fit very well in this locker room with the Washington Commanders. And it is someone that when going into Penn State, he played at Penn State throughout all 4 of his years in college, and some people thought that Nick Singleton was going to be a better running back, but Kaytron Allen immediately was able to step in there and not exactly steal Nick Singleton's chain, but they were able to kind of have a dual running back type of offense where they were able to play off each other. Nick Singleton was definitely more of a receiving back, and they used more Kaytron Allen as more of a early down running back. He's also really good at pass protection, which is really good, but he just was not getting that many looks in the receiving game. But Kaytron Allen is a very good downfield runner, really good at hitting gaps and making linebackers pay in order to get past them. So I'm super happy they were able to get this guy in the 6th round. He was getting mocked on day 2, right? There were a lot of people saying that, if you went on day 2, round 2 or round 3, not many people would have batted an eye, right? There were some players that were taken early on, especially the Jacksonville Jaguars draft. They I don't know what they were doing. There were a lot of questionable decisions they made in terms of the needs they had. On top of that, the 49ers also had a pretty questionable draft, taking Derzon Stribling with the 33rd overall pick, a wide receiver out of Ole Miss. I don't know why they decided to take him that early. I think he was pretty good personally. I just don't know if he was going to be taken that early in front of many other wide receivers. I thought that he would have been a pretty solid day 3 pick, whether it be in the early 4th round or maybe even falling to the 5th round, but they decided to do that. But Kaytron Allen was definitely someone that was talked about going as early as day 2, and I don't think many people would have batted an eye there in terms of his talent. And even though Saquon Barkley was a running back coming out of Penn State, Kaytron Allen still holds the leading rushers record at Penn State for running backs. I think he has the most rushing yards out of any running back to come out of Penn State. So I'm super glad we were able to get a talent like Kaytron Allen to replace Chris Rodriguez in this offense and potentially be the RB1. We'll see how everything goes, but obviously Kaytron Allen's going to be more of that power back, that thumper running through the tackles. And then you have Bill, who's definitely more of a elusive home run hitting running back, and then you have Rachaad White, who's more of a 3rd down receiving back that's also pretty good in pass protection. So I think we have a pretty good running back room getting started here. Obviously, the Commanders were not able to land Jeremiah Love, which a lot of fans were really hoping for. I personally was hoping that we were not going to be able to take Jeremiah Love. I think we're saving ourselves from ourselves, right, with drafting Jeremiah Love. I think that he would have just been a little too rich there at pick 7. Obviously, he was taken at pick 3, which is a whole other conversation. I think the Cardinals are absolute idiots for doing that, but like I said, that's a whole other conversation. But I think the Commanders definitely got an absolute steal in the 6th round with drafting Kaytron Allen at pick 187. Also in the 6th round at pick 209, the Commanders unfortunately did not have the first pick of the litter in terms of the center position, but they were able to land Matt Golban, center out of Michigan State, at pick 209. A lot of the other centers were taken a lot earlier. There were still a couple guys on the board at pick 187. I kind of was hoping they would take them, but unfortunately they did not. They picked Kaytron Allen, and they had to fall with Matt Golban there at pick 209. But he is a 6'4", 312-pound center out of Michigan State, like I said before. Not the most athletic center, but this guy is a absolute people mover. He can move anybody on that defensive line. If you look at the tape there at Michigan State, he was on one-on-ones with defensive tackles, and he was absolutely moving them out of the way. I'm a super big fan of the way Matt Golban plays. He's an anchor there in the middle of the offensive line. Unfortunately, he's not that athletic. He's not that fast at all. He did not test at all. So the things that he did test got him an RAS score with I think it was like 3.45, something like that. Not great at all, but I think Matt Golban as a center has the opportunity to sit behind Nick Allegretti and eventually probably take over as the starting center there for the Washington Commanders. And he just looks like the right guy at the center position. The captain there at Michigan State, he looks like a redhead, Midwest guy, and this is exactly what I want my center to look like. And I think that he is definitely someone that could play many years of maybe not all pro center play, but at least starting solid center play with the Washington Commanders, and hopefully be a solid anchor in what was or what should be a top offensive line with the Washington Commanders this year. So not the sexiest pick in the world, but Matt Golban is definitely someone that will be an anchor on the offensive line. Definitely not that athletic, but I think they can work around that and have him develop into a solid starting center for the Washington Commanders, and at only a late 6th round price. So I'm super excited they're able to get a guy like this that late. And lastly, the Commanders at pick 223 in round 7, they drafted Ethan Kaliakmanis, the quarterback out of Rutgers, standing at 6'3", 212. He is not like Jaden Daniels at all. They're able to get their future backup quarterback, hopefully to replace Marcus Mariota, who is getting paid $8 million a year for the past couple years with the Washington Commanders as their backup quarterback. And I think as a backup, he is one of the best backup quarterbacks in the NFL, but you really can't be paying your backup quarterback $8 million a year every year. That is just not going to get you by, especially when Jay Daniels is going to be asking for a new contract, you're definitely going to be paying him more than $60 million a year. You can't be giving your backup $8 million a year, especially since a guy like Leo Chanel, he's getting paid $8 million a year. So why do you want to be giving a backup guy that same amount of money when you can be getting a impact defensive player for that same amount of money, right? That's kind of the conversation where the conversation goes. But with Ethan Kaliakmanis, he is probably going to be your future backup quarterback. He is not like Jayden Daniels at all, not really a mover at all, but he's a solid pocket passer. His pro comp is very similar to Jared Goff, which I think is very cool, since obviously David Blau is coming from the Lions Ben Johnson system where Jared Goff was a starter there for a couple of years. So I think that is definitely something that David Blau is going to be working with Ethan Kaliakmanis to kind of implement some of the plays that Jared Goff was able to use with this Commanders offense. I think he was a pretty solid quarterback in college. This past year, completed 229 passes on 368 attempts. That is 62.2% completion percentage, 3,124 yards, 8.5 yards per pass, 20 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 72 long, and unfortunately took 36 sacks. So that ultimately ended him up with a 147.7 passer rating. I think it's pretty solid for a college quarterback and a future backup quarterback in the NFL, and this will definitely be your backup quarterback for the next couple of years. Hopefully, Jayden Daniels is not going to be allowing a backup quarterback to play anymore, and I think that is the kind of mentality we need to keep going with the Washington Commanders team so far, is not really planning on using your backup players, because if you do use your backup players, you have bigger issues to worry about. So I think this is a solid draft pick, and someone that David Blau is super excited to get into the Commanders building and be a solid backup quarterback for years to come. And speaking of pro compositions, I know I did not really give any pro comparisons to any other players here. So I think Matt Golban, there's not really a lot of guys I can compare him to. He's just a solid, strong starting center in the NFL. Not really too much to say. But Kaytron Allen, I think he is a very similar player to a guy like not Jahmyr Gibbs, the other Lions running back, former Lions running back, David Montgomery. David Blau found his diet David Montgomery in Kaytron Allen, as well as having his diet Jahmyr Gibbs and Bill Krosky-Merritt. So I think that those two running backs paired together will definitely have the Commanders having a solid run game for the next couple of years, and I'm super excited about that. Joshua Josephs, he was getting a lot of pro comparisons to guys like K'Lavon Chaisson of all people, which is really nice. I think he has super long arms. He's like 34 or 35-inch arms, which is very good for a pass rusher, and it could even have gotten him into the first round if he had a couple more sacks this past season. So I think that we got an absolute steal there in the 5th round. I'm not really too sure about Antonio Williams. I think the easiest pro comp would just be Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's a smaller, about 6 feet tall, a slot wide receiver, and I think that Amon-Ra fits that bill pretty well. And then Sonny Styles, he's just an athletic freak. He looks like he's the size of Calvin Johnson, but he plays linebacker. So I think that is an absolute steal, especially for his leadership skills and his ability to play linebacker in the middle of the defense. There's no one else I wanted there at pick 7 besides him. So that is going to be it for the Commanders draft haul, I guess you could say. This went a little longer than I expected, over about 20 minutes long, but I think I did a very thorough job of going over all of the Commanders draft picks for the 2026 draft. Expect a video here soon going over the Commanders UDFAs, because there are a lot of guys that I'm super excited about that the Commanders are bringing in. And I think that the Commanders did an even better job bring in some UDFAs compared to just their draft picks here. So expect a video out in the next couple of days about those, as well as some more videos here soon, just looking at the draft as a whole, as long as UDFAs, and kind of shaping out what the roster and what the team is going to look like here once the 2026 season starts there in August. But that is going to do it for me today. This is the end of today's video. I appreciate you guys watching to the very end. If you guys are still here, I really would appreciate it if you guys would go down below, drop a like, subscribe, turn on post notifications to know when I post next, and you guys will be notified whenever I post more Commanders content just like this. So like I said before, thank you guys so much for watching. I've been hyping up this draft for a little bit, hyping up the draft live stream, which is really happy to do. Day 3 definitely went by pretty quick, but it still took a while, so we booted up some Madden, and I was playing that on stream as well. So if that is something that you guys want to see more, me playing some Madden, maybe late night Madden streams, just let me know down in the comments, and I'll definitely be sure to boot that up for you guys in the future. But thank you guys so much for watching. unfortunately, that is really going to be it. Between now and the start of preseason, there's not going to be a lot happening. So I don't know if a lot of videos will be in the works. There may not be as many videos every single day, but maybe you can expect some every other day, something like that, just in terms of news that the Commanders have going into rookie minicamp, OTAs, and a training camp there this summer. So thank you guys so much for watching once again. I appreciate you guys watching to the very end. God bless, and hail to the Washington Commanders.